The ATF puts a lot of importance on a little phrase called responsible person. And this phrase comes up if you have a gun trust and you purchase an NFA firearm. I'm attorney Alex Kincaid, and today on the AK Show, we're sorting out fact and fiction with respect to who are these mythical responsible people that the ATF and the federal government want to keep track of. Welcome to the AK Show. So if you have a gun trust and you go to a dealer to purchase a suppressor, the dealer's going to fill out the paperwork for you to send into the ATF. The dealer's going to tell you you don't get to have this firearm until the ATF approves your paperwork, and so we want to make sure the paperwork's accurate the first time. And so the dealer will ask you, if you have a gun trust, to see a copy. A copy goes with the paperwork to the ATF, and you also have to separately list on Form 23 who these responsible people are. Probably initially you had no flippin' idea. And if you ask your lawyer, if you ask the ATF, if you ask your dealer to tell you who the responsible people are, chances are they're all going to have different answers. So today we're going to sort out the fact and fiction with respect to this phrase, and I know what you're all thinking. This is so important because we all know that the National Firearms Act saves lives. This is an absolutely amazing use of taxpayer money to have this agency that processes however many pages of paperwork every year to make sure that law-abiding citizens are photographed, fingerprinted, and have to wait a long time before they can have a suppressor or certain other firearms. And, you know, God forbid that the federal government actually fund an agency that would do something useful like maybe provide firearms to schools and churches and send teams out to train people who are in charge of those facilities on how to protect innocent lives. But I digress. So back on track with responsible people. This is a long definition, and it changed in 2016. Okay, so you remember when Rule 41F came out, and if you don't, go back, review my video on that topic. This was a rule that changed how trusts are able to purchase or to own or be the transferee, rather, of a legal National Firearms Act firearm. And in 2006, the definition became a little bit more convoluted, and it says that a responsible person, I'm just going to read this to you, I know it's painful, but the people are individuals who possess, directly or indirectly, the power or authority to direct the management and policies of the trust. So, you know, look at the important words there. If somebody can possess the power or authority to direct what happens with the trust, so the creator, right, that's what I'm going to parse out of that phrase. The creator may be a trustee, or who can receive, possess, ship, transport, deliver, transfer, or otherwise dispose of a firearm. So who would that be in the trust? The trustee, okay? That's the easy answer most of the time. And then the definition further says that in the case of a trust, it specifically excludes a beneficiary of the trust if the beneficiary does not have the capability to exercise the powers or authorities that were listed above. Okay? So what this definition tells you right there is that if someone can purchase a firearm on behalf of the trust or transfer a firearm out of the trust, that person currently is a responsible person. But if the person is named in the trust to inherit and will only receive a firearm when you die, you, the creator of the trust, die, and then the firearms go to your kids, as an example, that kid is not a responsible person without more being drafted into the trust. So here's where it got really tricky. I and other colleagues of mine across the country wanted to work with the ATF and how they were drafting these rules and regulations and what the requirements were for processing the paperwork, because obviously we want our trusts to work and we want the process to be, don't laugh, but as smooth and efficient as possible when the paperwork is submitted. So we want things to go through the first time. We want things to work. We know it takes 6 to 9 months, but 6 to 9 months is going to be better than getting a kickback and then having to wait another year. So we expanded some things, some language in our trust to make sure that if you wanted your wife or your husband or an adult child to be able to take a firearm that is subject to the National Firearms Act, in other words, if you bought it in your own name, you're the only person who could be in possession of it. But you want a family member to be able to take that suppressor and go on a hunting trip, okay? We created trusts that have language that allowed that to happen very easily. And the ATF was fine with that until 2018. And in 2018, some bean counter, I mean, I guess it's not really a bean counter. We'll have to call the person a gun counter, right? So somebody who's like trying to limit legal, law-abiding citizens from exercising their Second Amendment rights. And oh my gosh, we don't want, to have any error in who responsible people are. We don't want things to be easy. We've got to make it difficult. So someone at the ATF decided, well, this language is too broad, and we're going to start kicking trusts back. And so about in November of 2018, depending on which examiner at the ATF was processing your paperwork, they would kick things back and tell you you had to list everyone that had a name in the trust. So people who were inheriting, anybody named in the trust had to be named on Form 23 as a responsible person. And this was so inconsistent because a trust would go through fine and then the next day one would get kicked back. And it was the same language in every trust that the ATF was dealing with. And they were just interpreting it inconsistently. So the people at the ATF who created this rule and created this mess weren't even applying it uniformly across the board. So what happened was that lawyers worked with the ATF, and we finally thought we had everything resolved because the ATF said, okay, we didn't like the language you were using before. Here's some new language we approve of. And so we started doing amendments at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019 for people, fixing it. Things went through smoothly again until July of 2019. And then the ATF decided they had a problem with a couple of words that was in the change language that they previously approved, and we had to remove these couple of words. So the bottom line, folks, is who the responsible people are of your trust is going to depend on who created your trust and how things are worded. And if you have a gun trust from my office, please call me if you intend to purchase an NFA firearm and your trust was created before the end of July 2019, because that's when we got final approval of some secondly revised language from the ATF to include in our gun trusts. And the bottom line is, if you have an Alex Kincaid Law Gun Trust, your responsible people should be yourself, if you were the creator of the trust, and your current trustees, no one else. And if you have questions about this, we welcome you to contact us and let us know. I'm Alex Kincaid, and remember, black rifles and high-capacity magazines save lives. Thank you for watching the AK Show, and if you like what we do and you want to support us, please feel free to make a donation to the 2 charities that we support. We're not asking for money from you directly, but we do donate to charities. We have a horse rescue that saves horse lives, and those horses get to work with veterans and be trained by veterans out at Kincaid Ranch. And I also have founded the Alex Kincaid Law Scholarship, which focuses on sending America's conservative youth to college. This is Alex A.K. Kincaid, and thank you for watching the AK Show.